Chris's topic is on the economic benefit gambling provides to society. He made 3 claims. Gambling provides an economic benefit to the communities, gambling provides social benefits, and the cost increase of gambling, the gambling addiction can be mitigated. I have 3 responses to his claim. First, the mitigation of gambling is very difficult. Even though there is a ban, like you said, on the casinos, they still need a resource a professional can help them with. My second claim is that the economic improvement within the Native American tribes is still not enough because they're still a very poor society. Their income is almost 10,000 less than the national income in America. My third claim is that the legalization of gambling doesn't provide measurable social benefits to education. And first, I'd like to be talking about the rehabilitation centers in Maryland. This addiction is not easy to treat as it sounds. It's a chronic illness that doctors treat as a brain disease. Like Chris said, the casinos can banish someone and their nearby casinos, but their resources in Maryland are really bad. In his own source, journalist Olive, he says that Rugel Center, the main resource that gambling that is funded by the casinos, doesn't have provides wrong phone numbers, and they provide resources or people's names that don't even provide help for gambling addiction. My second claim is that, Chris's second claim is that by providing an example of the economic improvement within the Native American tribes, his data reports that there is a 12% increase in tribal employment. And my second point is that even though there has been an increase in tribal employment, it's still not enough to provide for their community, their reservation. The research that I found from the Native American Rights Fund dispels this myth of Indian gaming. The employment rate is 15%, almost triple the national average. The needs of their communities is so great that even if the total annual Indian gaming revenue in the country could be divided equally among all the Indians in the country, the amount distributed per person would still not be enough to raise Indian per capita income, which is $11,000, to anywhere near the national average, which is $21,000. His second supporting claim states that the legalization of gambling provides measurable social benefits through the revenue for education. My final point is that the lottery ticket revenue is not always spent on education. Political science professor Patrick Pierce says the lottery money earmarked for education tends to find its way into the state's general revenue pool. And it's misleading to believe that the money people spend on Powerball or lottery tickets like that, it's going to their child's education. Some companies only give a very small percentage, which is as low as 12%, to education. Most states just put the money into their budget for undeclared purposes. CNN Money reports that only 15 states use all of their lottery proceeds for education, and it's really unclear what states decide to use the money for. In conclusion, without a reliable resource center for gambling addiction, the disease cannot be mitigated. Gambling addiction is not easily treatable, but with the right professionals, addicts can obtain the right support. The claim that Native American reservations are creating a large profit enough to support their community is a myth. Native Americans are making about $11,000 to the national income of $21,000. Also, the proceeds of the lottery ticket revenue is not strictly impacted on education. In reality, a very small percentage is being given to schools. The state uses the leftover revenue for money, for purposes that we don't even know about. And thank you so much. I'm done.
Alexis, you've done a nice job following the structure of the advocate's claim. The original points, it sounds to me like you've got counterclaims here that are designed to respond to particular points that the advocate presented. It probably would make sense for you to remind us of what those supporting points were instead of just giving us the counterclaim, and then save the counterclaim for the individual points as you get to each one. That, I think, would be a little bit clearer, but it was easy to follow the structure pretty well, except on the first point, because I wasn't sure that you had started on that first point when you started talking about the rehabilitation centers. And then I realized, well, that is going back to the mitigation argument that you previewed earlier. So it would probably be good to have a transition phrase there. The criticism of the Maryland program seems to come down to this one journalist who says that they apparently advertise the wrong phone numbers, and sometimes they don't have the appropriate administrative personnel, assistants or advisory personnel on hand, and that was a little bit vague. It's an okay claim, but it certainly isn't. I'm not sure that it's enough to suggest that the entire problem is, not mitigated to some degree, or that this is going to prevent any solution there. I think you need a little bit broader information on that point. On the second point, I thought this is where you were probably the strongest on the argument, trying to mitigate the impact that it's had on the tribal life. The advocate cites an increase of 12% in employment, which you then put into perspective with a nice argument diminishing that, still suggesting that unemployment on reservations is at 15%, which is 3 times the national average. So in essence, if there has been an improvement, it's certainly not a significant improvement. The unemployment issue on Indian reservations is substantially high. I also like the kind of hypothetical argument that's presented, and somebody, I know you had a source on it, somebody has calculated it out. If we took all the revenues and divided them up equally, it still wouldn't change the per capita income of people on the reservations up to the bare minimum of everybody else. So in essence, the idea that it's going to have a substantial impact, again, this is diminishing the argument to some degree. I'm not sure that you can mitigate entirely that there are potential advantages, but I thought that you picked the right strategy here to suggest that it's certainly not going to fix the problems that the reservations have on its own. The social benefits argument is primarily about whether or not the lottery money goes to schools. I don't remember exactly what the advocate's claim was here. Your response seems to be pretty basic and descriptive. Only some states require that it goes to the schools. Obviously, some don't. So there's not really a controversy on that point. The question then becomes, do the states that require it to go to the schools use the money in an effective way? Does it make a difference? How big a part of the budget is it? And I don't think that you get quite as much information on that as you need to suggest that it's either unimportant or not making a difference. It's, the piece of evidence that you have that had a statistic in it says in some places it could be as low as 12% that they're paying back on the lottery thing. That might be true, but if we're talking about a lot of money, that's still a big chunk of change. The better argument, I think, is talking about how much of the total budget for education does lottery money make up, and in California it would be easy to diminish that, and that's a simple statistic to be able to come up with. I thought your summary was pretty good at the end of the speech, also a good way to finish off. Thank you.